what it is. We do this every day. So pour up your cup and throw the H up and let me in the city.
What's going on YouTube? In today's video, I'm gonna go over quickly how to wire up this Escalade switch right over here. For you guys that don't want to do the powerful mirror switch wiring, how I did right over here, we'll be using this Escalade as an option just in case that you have this, or if you had questions on installing this right here. But pretty much like the one that I have set up in video part 2, you know, I have a toggle switch here to where I can, you know, close the mirrors and then open them by holding the button. And versus this one, you press and hold one time and it'll close them or open them. But I still do prefer this setup right over here because, as you know, I am trying to work on part 3 where it'll automatically fold whenever I lock the alarm or unlock it. And it'll be easier, you know, interfacing with something like this versus this. But I'll still go ahead and show you guys how to wire them up if you want to use this or if you already have it. And I also want to thank Eric for providing this switch today. He's one of our subscribers, and he actually, you know, purchased a set of puddle lights and some rear pillar kit. And while he was there, he had an extra switch that he let me use for the video because he knows, you know, we're shooting the videos on the mirrors and all that stuff, and I didn't have one of these. But that way, you know, if anybody has questions on wiring up these, now I can go ahead and use it thanks to him. And that's what we'll be shooting today. So if you want to check that out, stay tuned and let's get to it. Yeah. All right, guys, so as you can see, these switches right here use a 5-pin harness, and I don't have the harness. So I'll just be inserting some wires in here for the video. And I'll have the diagram up on top of the screen right here so that you can see how they pin out. But we'll be using them as, from the top will be pin 1 all the way through to the bottom, which will be pin 5. So 1 through 5. The very first pin on top is going to be the dimmer illumination, which will be a 12-volt wire. And if you want to use that, you can get it off behind your radio, usually like a orange or orange and white wire on the aftermarket harnesses. But you can also test it out, you know, with your multimeter if you have one. And then the second pin is going to be your ground. The third pin is going to be your 12-volt wire, which you can get power, you know, from under the column like in video 2, and also the ground from here. And then the last 2 pins are going to be for the folding mirrors, so 4 and 5 to open and close the mirrors. Just make sure you wire them both in sync so that they, you know, close and open at the same time together. So let me go ahead and put these wires real quick just to show you. And it'll be temporary, you know, just for the video because I already have my setup installed here already. But you can go ahead and reference back to, you know, part 2 of the mirror fold install. And, you know, that way you can kind of have your wires more cleaned up and have it a little bit better as far as, like, you know, servicing your doors and, you know, removing anything without having to undo the wiring. All right, guys, so I have the switch all wired up so I can just show you how it works. And, you know, this is just for demonstration purposes, so it's just all, you know, like wires hanging and everything. But I just want you to see how it goes for you guys that had questions on it. But I'm using the connectors right over here. And, you know, my 2 mirror wires are these 2 bottom pins. And I'll have the picture on the screen as well. And then the 2 above it are going to be the power and then ground. And then that very top pin is going to be, of course, the illumination, but it's not hooked up in here right now. If you notice that empty pin on top. And here you can see on the second pin, I went ahead and did the ground, which is this one right here. And it's actually a black wire, but it has a little bit of red on it. And that's going to the battery. And then the next pin, which is the third one, is a 12-volt wire. This one right here, which I have it to red. And again, it's going to the battery right there. And then the last 2 pins are for the mirrors. So, you know, the open and close. Or they can be closed and open. As long as they're both wired and, you know, the same way, then that way they both close and open at the same time. But you can see that I ran the wires right here. So one to the passenger side and then one going to the driver's side. And then they're just right here, just with the crimp caps, you know, because it's just for demonstration and stuff. But that's pretty much it. So once you have that all hooked up, then it's as simple as, you know, just pressing the button and then it'll close them and open them at the same time. So just like that. And in the same way, the same button to open them up. So, you know, it's pretty simple using this switch right here. I just didn't use it before because I didn't have one, and sometimes they're hard to find. But they also go in this area right here. And if you notice, I do have my traction control here, so I didn't want to take it off. But if you don't have this and you want to put this on there, I mean, you can go ahead and do that. Or also, if you want to put it there and then just, you know, hide this somewhere else if you're not really using it, it could still be connected, but you know, it'll be just tucked away or relocated. And also remember, I am making this video because there's different ways of making the mirrors fold, and I know that some of you guys already have this installed from factory, or you may have already upgraded in the past. And then, you know, some people did like the switch that I have here, which I like personally because I can control it easier with the alarm. And that's what I'll be doing on the next video, which I'm still trying to mess with because there's so many different options, especially with this and then this type of setup. And you know, there's a lot of variables that go to it, because whenever these trucks drive or you put it in drive and then take off, the locks will also, you know, auto lock or auto unlock, which will affect the mirrors. And that's also what I'm trying to, you know, make sure I get right, so that none of that bothers you whenever you're driving and stuff like that. But either if you're doing this or if you're having to switch like this, I'm gonna go ahead and try and do, you know, separate videos, because the wiring may be different, you know, for that switch and then this switch. They get controlled different ways, you know. And I'm working on both, since, you know, this one works a certain way and then this one is different because it has the relay. So it's like a negative trigger, and then this will be like a positive trigger, which is different. So, you know, but just stay tuned. I'm working on those right there. That way I can have, you know, different wiring for, you know, whatever switches you guys are using, either this or the aftermarket switch, or, you know, any different possibilities. Because also the trucks, since they work different with the locking mechanisms, you know, on like the 2000s and then 2003 and up. So it's just different wiring and stuff. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do. And also the reason that I ended up doing this, or I prefer doing the switch how I did it the first time, is because I can control it better with the alarm, since it has two inputs, you know, one for open and one for close, versus the Escalade switch right here, which only has one input. So that one input controls both lock and unlock, which, you know, will fold your mirrors and unfold them at the same time with the same trigger. But, you know, that makes it a little bit more difficult, because, you know, if you press maybe lock 2 times, it'll unfold it because of the same signal. But in this case right here, it won't do that because they're separate. But like I said, I'll go ahead and try to work with the wiring and then, you know, do separate videos, so that whichever way that you wired it up or, you know, want to go, then it'll work both ways. But you guys let me know what you think down below in the comments. And if you guys decide to go this route and wire up this switch right here, you can also watch part 2 on the video how I did my wiring on the toggle switch. It'll be a little bit different, but you can use the same concept, you know, where you'll run the plug and play harness so they can detach from here and also from the door panel right on this side in case you need to service anything. And it'll give you a cleaner install. And, you know, it'll also unplug from the switch or however you have it. Because the way that I have it set up, I didn't have a harness in here. I just did this, you know, to show you guys. But if you'll need the harness, or you can do something like this, but you just got to be careful and make sure they get a good connection in there, because you don't want no loose connections. And also, you know, you can get the power source from the same place right under the dash, the 12 volts ground. And if you want this thing to light up in the night with the illumination, then you'll hook up the top pin, which I didn't in this, you know, demonstration. But you can get that off the radio wiring. They have dimmer wires in there. And if you guys have any other questions, you know, on how to wire it up or, you know, anything like that, just let me know down below in the comments, and I can go ahead and help you out with that as well, or make a different video, you know, going more in depth on what else to do. But you can follow, like I said, that video, and that'll help you, you know, to guide you on wiring the wires and hiding them or passing them through. So that'll be it for this video, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. We're gone.
No, that we got a crowd down with the trunk popped up, sitting on foes as we tip slow. You know what it is, we do this every day. So pull up your cup and throw the H up and let me in the city.